Why do y'all have him sitting on the ground like a dog? Did he volunteer to sit on the ground? Did y'all make him sit on the ground? You told him to sit on the ground. Is there a law that says he has to sit on the ground? Get up off the ground, man. No, I asked you if I could ask you a question. Interference is a physical thing. Interference is physical. Yes, and I asked you if I could ask you a question. You said he's not detained. Well, why did you say he wasn't? You just said he wasn't detained. Okay, well, if he is detained, I can still speak. I can speak to him and he can speak to me. I can, but I can also stand here. Well, I'm asking you a question. Why is he sitting on the ground? He don't have to sit on the ground. There's no law that says he has to sit on the ground. You are violating his rights right now. Yes, you are. I'm just letting you know. You don't have to sit on the ground like no dog, man. Well, I'm going to sit here and watch, bro. You're not all right. They're violating your rights. And you're afraid to stand up for yourself. Searching your car, you got to stop talking to him. Everything you say can be used against you. Nothing you say gonna help you. Invoke your Fifth Amendment right to remain silent. And ask him to get out your car, man. If you gave him consent, withdraw it. And you sitting on the ground because you're afraid to stand up like a man. Yes, I am. Because they just might decide to kick your ass out here. If they do, I'm gonna have a record of it. If they do, I'm gonna have a record of it. I hate to see that. And you talking to them like they're your friends. And you're upset with me, and I got your back. They're not your friends. They looking to put you in jail, confiscate your car right before Christmas. And right now, they're just waiting to see if they can arrest you. Learn your rights and stand on them. Stop sitting on the ground like a dog. They just had you sitting on the ground like a damn dog. Now, if they respected you and your rights, if she did call them and say that she was afraid, she knew what she was doing out here, they could have came and contacted you and said, how you doing, young man? My name is Officer so-and-so. My badge number is so-and-so. And I got a call that the woman in here thought you were suspicious. And we just want to see what's going on. They wouldn't have made you sit on the damn ground like a dog.
I understand. Now, can I tell you something?
Yeah.
You was young to help the young lady.
Mm-hmm.
I knew they were coming.
Okay.
I wasn't worried at all. I didn't do anything.
But she called. I'm just not asking you a question. You know she called though.
I'm going to tell her though.
And then they put you on the ground and search your car.
I'm fine with that. I was here doing something right. I wasn't doing nothing wrong.
Well, guess what?
I had no problem with them searching me. You know
guess
why?
what?
Wait. You know why I had no problem with them searching me?
Go ahead.
Because I knew I didn't do nothing wrong and I knew I wasn't doing anything wrong.
Okay.
Now, it's a thing that I like to, sometimes you got to think for yourself.
Right.
Why go out in the streets doing something wrong if you know you're dirty or anything like that?
Okay.
I knew I wasn't.
Yeah.
I came to help a young lady.
Good.
I'm the one who told her.
Right.
And I told her, I'm going to see if we do it to the police.
Already.
I knew something that I had done was not right. I knew when they came to question me because I knew their word. That's why I didn't even drive off. I knew that they were going to smell what I had chosen to do. So for him to ask me to sit on the ground and he was being polite with me instead of yanking me about the car, I had no problem.
Okay.
I knew he was going to question me. I knew they were going to run my name. I knew I was going to be sitting there for a while. I've been through the procedure before. I had no problem with that. You know why? Because I know now I don't do the stuff that I used to do, and I think before I come out of the house. I may slip up sometimes, but hey, that's the consequences that I got to face for it. Once again, though, I know what they were going to do. I had no problem with it. That's why I was perfectly fine with sitting on the ground. Nothing crazy. You can jump off. There's nothing to put on YouTube and know the police brutality. They made this man. They didn't make me. I said that I know my rights. I knew when he asked me to sit on the ground. I knew I didn't have to. I had no problem with it. Let's go ahead and get this over with so we can go about our way. We both here for the same thing. To help this young lady in the store. That's it.
Okay.
All this here is not necessary.
Okay, well, let me share something with you. I just heard you out. Hear me out. You just made it bad for the next man that don't know his rights.
You know what?
Oh, listen to me. I just heard you.
You need to learn his rights.
Listen.
You can't come out here expecting to do this and do
Let me explain something to you.
Rights.
You sure can. You sure can. But I want you to know something. You just made it bad for the next man. Because when you sit on the ground, that makes them feel like it's all right to make the next person sit on the ground.
No, it's not.
Let me explain something to you.
All he has to do is, like, see, if the people that's been recording this for, if they were really paying attention, they would have heard me say, I know my rights. I know I didn't have to.
You know your rights.
I chose to.
And you chose to let them search your car.
Exactly.
Not knowing if this is a dirty-ass cop wanting to plant a gun, wanting to plant drugs in your car. Right. You don't know that.
But they both were here for the same.
I don't care what they here for. You don't know if he's dirty. You don't know this man.
You don't care except for nothing about that right there and what could have been.
You don't know that man.
It didn't happen, though. That's over.
You don't know that man.
To sit on the ground and he was being polite with me instead of yanking me about the car, I had no problem.
Okay.
I knew he was going to question me. I knew they were going to run my name. I knew I was going to be sitting there for a while. I've been through the procedure before. I had no problem with that. You know why? Because I know now I don't do the stuff that I used to do, and I think before I come out of the house. I may slip up sometimes, but hey, that's the consequences that I got to face for that. Once again, though, I knew what they were going to do. I had no problem with it. That's why I was perfectly fine with sitting on the ground. Nothing went crazy. Nothing jumped off. There's nothing to put on YouTube to know the police brutality. They made this man. They didn't make me. I sat down. I know my rights. I knew when he asked me to sit on the ground, I knew I didn't have to. I had no problem with it. Let's go ahead and get this over with so we can go about our way. We both here for the same thing. To help this young lady in the store out. That's it.
Okay.
All this here is not necessary.
Okay, let me share something with you. I just heard you out. Hear me out. You just made it bad for the next man that don't know his rights.
You know what?
Oh, listen to me. I just heard you out.
He need to learn his rights.
Listen.
You can't come out here expecting to do this and do that.
Let me explain something to you.
Rights.
You sure can. You sure can. But I want you to know something. You just made it bad for the next man. Because when you sit on the ground, that makes them feel like it's all right to make the next person sit on the ground.
No, it's not.
Let me explain something to you.
All he has to do is, like, see, if the people that's been recording this for, if they were really paying attention, they would have heard me say, I know my rights. I know I didn't have to.
You know your rights.
I chose to.
And you chose to let them search your car.
Exactly.
Not knowing if this is a dirty-ass cop wanting to plant a gun, wanting to plant drugs in your car. Right. You don't know that.
But they both were here for the same.
I don't care what they here for. You don't know if he's dirty. You don't know this man.
You don't care except for nothing about that right there and what could have been.
You don't know that man.
It didn't happen, though. That's over.
You don't know that man. He laughing.
Doing something
he kicking and he cockeying. I'm doing something very productive.
This is productive.
I'm educating those who watching. But I want you to know something. You just made it bad for the next man. Why do y'all have him sit?
All right, Shalom. 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 I would like to start off this lesson by giving all praises and blessings to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Raha HaKodash. Double honors to the apostles, the bishops, and the elders of Great Millstone. Peace and salutations to the elect men, all right, men of the elect, all right, who are pushing hard this word in all truth and in sincerity, risking life and livelihood in so doing. And shalom to the women and children who watch and who learn from these lessons. All right. Now, what you saw, okay, in that video, all right. This is why 2/3 of our people have to go. All right, especially those who are and this guy he's in that you know, the majority of Jake they are in that you know, plantation Christian, you know, civil rights, okay, you know, mentality. All right, they are in that. Now there is a scripture, all right, that says, "Agree with thine adversary." All right, and that's true. You know, you are to agree with your adversary. Now let's say um, he was doing something that he wasn't supposed to be doing. All right, you know, you're dirty. Okay, you're doing something that you're not supposed to be doing. Okay, well then of course you would agree with your adversary. Okay, but no one wants to sit or be made to sit on the ground. And of all places, in a gas station, at the gas station pump, to be told to sit on the ground, to lay on your belly, okay? But these are products of plantation Christianity. And you even have Hebrew Israelites uh, who behave like this. Now I may have to cut it off, uh, pause it, because I'm waiting on to deliver this package. But but you know, Jake, you know, the scripture. There's a scripture, and let me get the scripture. All right, it says, you know what? I'll just quote it. This is a scripture that always comes out, and this scripture could be used twofold. Okay, of why trimmest thou way? Okay, why trimmest thou way? And that's what Jake does. Okay, uh, they get around Esau, and any other time they're donkey, King Kong. But when Esau has them, okay, and Esau was laughing because they know what this man was saying was right, and that's why they were laughing. Okay, but Jake gets around Esau, and he's a whole different type of individual. All right. Um, you know, just just done, man. That's just you know the mentality of 2/3 of our people. I mean, you can't even put this into words. This can't even be put into words. Like he said, man, by you sitting on the ground. All right, 1 second. I was 1 second. All right, Shalakia for that. But yeah, so our people are in a are in a simple, you know, mind state. Okay, and for one, it's because they are under Esau Edom's rule. Two, they are under the rule of the so-called black woman. All right. That's why he didn't want to listen to what the older. I'm assuming that I've never seen his face before, but I'm assuming that he's a older Jake. Okay, older man. Okay, our people, you know, they don't want to listen to the so-called black man. Again, who the hell wants to sit on the ground and listen? Now, I would have said, if I got to sit on the ground, you sit on the ground. I mean, shit, man, it got to be a clue. Something should have clicked. Okay, why are they standing up, but I'm sitting on the ground? That is ridiculous, man. Okay, that is ridiculous, and that's just the mentality of Jake, the sit down on the ground mentality, man. Okay. And that's why even with dealing with the so-called black woman. But see, if you put this individual, if I was walking down the street with my woman, that same nigga, if he had a couple of guys with him, they would be trying to talk to my woman, disrespectful. But now he's Johnny Cochran, okay, and he's defending what Esau's doing, and that's the same thing that the Christian church. Yeah, I'm gonna bring the Christian. I keep bringing him up because he is a product of the Christian church, of plantation Christianity. Okay, that's that another Jesus. That's that another Jesus. The blonde haired, blue eyed devil in his mind. And that's why he had no problem sitting on the ground. He's thinking in his mind, well, if they told me to sit on the ground, the ground must be clean. What that nigga talking about? Stand up. Stand up for myself. That reminds me of a story. This reminds me of a story, and I think I did a video on it, of there was a free slave and a slave. And the slave's master was beating him, okay? And so the free man, the free Jake, he went and whipped the master's ass, okay, for beating on that slave, okay? And so, later, the master, sent that slave to go, the same slave that the free slave saved, he sent that same slave to the free man, and he killed him. Okay? And he killed him. And the slave ended up losing his life, because he killed a free man. All right, even though he was a so-called black man, he still was put to death. So Esau was able to get rid of, of both of them. Okay, but the mentality of Jake sees that you try to free him. Okay, but his loyalty is to whoever his mother was loyal to, which is Esau Edom, the so-called white man, and that's why they're laughing. Oh, nigga, it's pointless for you to, that's why they were laughing. Okay, and that Jake, and that's what you see him do, and that's why it makes no sense. Okay, when these type of individuals come into the truth, and then they don't put off that old man, well, then they're exposed. They're hiding it, okay, but they are exposed. They get exposed eventually. The Stockholm Syndrome at its best, man. All right, so that's all I wanted to do, man. Highlight this video. And, Lord willing, it was an edifying video. All right. This video doesn't, in any means, mean that you should be disobedient, to law enforcement. I'm not saying that law enforcement could be your adversary. Okay. But the fact that Jake, trimmed this way, I'm not saying that, the police, is our adversaries. All right. But we do know, okay, that the police, all right, kill so-called Negroes. That is what we do know. And he said that they were his friends, so he's trimming his way. That's a lie. They are not your friends, and he knows that. But see, instead of Jake coming with the truth, you see, because he's just like the black woman, no accountability. Instead of him coming with the truth, saying, look, man, I was scared, man. You got two white men here with guns. I was scared, man. I'm scared for my life. That's why I sat on the ground. Sir, I didn't want any problems. See, Jake is not truthful. He has no accountability, okay? Because he learned from the so-called black woman, all right? So he's not going to say, oh, I was scared, these good old boys, He's not going to say that. He's going to say, I understand where they coming from. And that's the same thing that was happening on the plantation. I remember what I always, they don't play the Alex Haley movie Roots anymore, all right? But there was a scene that I'll never forget in Roots. And it was when Chicken George and his master, okay, there was a race riot. Okay, I believe it was Nat Turner, okay, and they were going around. The slaves were revolting, and so Chicken George was inside of their shack, okay, talking to his mother, and she was like, "Be careful, George. Be careful. These white folks, they're riled up right now because of these slave revolts." And so, Chicken George, all right, in his ego and naive, because he could, he was able to train chickens how to fight. So he made his master a lot of money because he had, that's why he was named Chicken George, because he had the ability to train, chickens and roosters, and that used to be very profitable, okay? But somewhere along the line, okay, a chicken and a dog, okay, their life is more valuable than you Jakes. You see, they don't fight chickens or dogs anymore, okay? But they still kill you Negroes. I just had to put that in there. But anyway, Chicken George, he was confident, he was, oh, Massa ain't gonna do this to me. Massa loved George. Me and Massa I was Massa's best friend. Okay. Now that and so lo and behold, a couple of minutes later, the master knocked on the door, and he came in. He came into Chicken George's and Kissy's hut, and he said, "And listen," he pointed his gun at them, and he said, "Hey, I'll blow you away, nigga. Okay, don't ever play no games with me. All right." And George was, "Oh, Master, listen, nigga, shut up. Okay, You ever think about it, nigga, I'll kill you dead, nigga, and you and them chickens. All right? So, George learned, okay, right then and there. Okay? Right then and there. But see, now we're in the day and age where, Jake is not learning. Okay? So Jake has, Stockholm syndrome, and they're just living the civil rights era. All right, plantation. Okay. So again, I went back on. It just fired this video. Uh, had to be shown, man. Had to be shown. So we don't tell you to do anything lawless. All right. We, you are to, listen to the authorities, okay? And if they're not, telling you to do anything, ridiculous, then, you should obey, okay? Sit on the ground, okay, and you haven't done anything, okay? That's like jump off the bridge. Jump off the bridge. No, nigga, jump off the bridge. So anyway, till next time, Shalom.